Hello guys, am I audible? Hi guys, am I audible? Can you all hear me? Fine. Akshat has replied. So yeah, welcome to today's session. We have been having Geek to Geek sessions for 5 days straight now. Uh, Today is the fifth day. We'll be discussing why should learning ML be your top priority. We have had some great sessions, and the Geek Week has been absolutely amazing for us. Um, Geek Week is the biggest online festival for programmers, and we are having a blast there. We are having coding competitions. We are having fun games. We are having and our courses are on literally the lowest prices ever. You should check it out. And guys, Mr. Bhavesh will be joining us very shortly. Till then, I'd like to tell you that in the video description, you'll find the queries form. You can submit your queries there, and we'll have a question and answer session at the end of the video, and where Mr. Bhavesh will address them. Is that all right? Can I hear something in the comments? Yeah. While Mr. Bhavesh joins, let me introduce him to you all. Mr. Bhavesh completed his bachelor's from um, University of Mumbai and his master's from BITS Pilani. Well, impressive start. We can say that we could already predict he was going places. He then worked as an SG for a while, and since 2017, he's been working as a data analyst, and he has since just going. The trajectory has always been upward since then. He has a YouTube channel as well. You should all check it out. He provides simply explained ML videos there. It's quite good. Um, he has also had the honor of becoming a Google developer expert. Quite an honor, to be honest. Google recognizing on its own your work, your commitment, and your overall expertise in a field. Quite something. And he has also had the honor of being a part of a very elite list. He is a part of 40 under 40 data scientists. Well, we are in for a ride today. Mr. Bhavesh is here. Let me add to the stream.
Hey, hi Prakhar. Thanks for having me over.
Hi Bhavesh. We welcome you here, and we are very excited to hear from you. And hope you're all fine.
Yeah, all good. How are you doing?
I'm great. And your profile, your credentials are awe-inspiring, and we are so excited to hear from you.
Thank you so much.
Yeah, guys, I'd again like to tell you that we have shared the queries form in the description section, and you all can submit your queries there. Bhavesh will address them at the end of the webinar. Fine. Uh, uh, would you like to introduce to our viewers?
Yeah, cool.
Yeah.
So my name is Bhavesh, and I currently work as a data scientist. And yeah, I run two YouTube channels. I run one YouTube channel wherein I teach machine learning and data. The other channel is where I try to teach Python some tips and tricks. So that is something that I do in terms of the extracurricular activities. So far, it's been a great ride in the machine learning and data science domain. Uh, I'm kind of part of the GD program, that is Google Developer Expert Group, wherein hopefully if COVID wasn't there, then I would have given like a lot of talks in person. But due to COVID, a lot of webinars is what I've been able to contribute to. Apart from that, I've also been selected as a 40 under 40 data scientist.
Very
This
interesting.
happened in January. So yeah, that's a bit about me and yeah, what I've been doing so.
They're asking about your YouTube channel name.
So if you search for my name, you should be able to get that as the first result itself. So
Yeah,
if you search
just
my
look
full
up
name,
for
yeah,
Mr. Bhavesh, and well, he's kind of famous here. He is.
yeah,
He has done some great work. Please go and check it out. Um, shall we begin with the question and answers?
yeah, sure.
Yeah, fine. I'll share the screen. Um, yeah. Can you all see it?
Yes, I can. Yeah.
Yeah. Thanks. So our first question to you would be, can you share something about your journey in Fractal Analytics and other organizations you have worked for, and also how you got into this field of data science and machine learning? The mic
Cool.
is all yours.
Yeah, yeah. So I'll give you a brief background about what I've done so far in terms of my educational background, and then I'll kind of walk you through in terms of how I was able to make that transition into data science and machine learning. So I did my bachelor's in electronics, and post that I did my master's in embedded systems from Goa. So I come from a very heavy duty electronics background. Uh, After my master's, I worked with some companies as MathWorks. So I'm pretty sure a lot of you would be aware of Math, the software. I worked for MathWorks for a year, and then I transitioned into uh, a role in Cisco, where I was a software engineer. So all throughout, during my master's as well, and during my bachelor's as well, one thing that has always fascinated me is the love for mathematics that I've had. So I remember my interview rounds at MathWorks as well. There were good amount of questions on mathematics. Can I explain, say, the physical interpretation of eigenvalues, eigenvectors? So I've always been fascinated with the whole field of mathematics. And once I was working in Cisco, so far my role was more of programming hardware devices, be it FPGA or be it say the routers used in Cisco. I was programming them using C, C++, which is like the hardware descriptive language that is there. After that, I kind of wanted to experiment out data science and machine learning. It's here that I kind of thought of taking a risk, and I kind of did good amount of courses on machine learning and data science online. And after that, I've kind of made like a good successful transition into data science and machine learning. So yeah, I mean that is something that I wanted to share with respect to my my educational background. After completing my master's and after working with the two and having like a good software engineering background, when I decided to kind of jump to data science and machine learning, it is here that I went through multiple courses. And one thing that I really followed at my end is for a single topic as well, I kind of researched a lot. I went through multiple YouTube videos, went through multiple steps that I very easy on the internet as well. So I had multiple sources of learning in terms of going through one particular topic, and I kept doing different projects. I kept learning different technologies, and after say a small amount of time, I was able to make that transition into a data scientist role. So the first company that I worked for as a data scientist was Flexi Loans. It is a fintech startup. So essentially, the aim of the company is to give out loans to you if you apply for a loan in near real time. So imagine if you apply for a loan and you upload all your KYC details such as your PAN card, Aadhaar card, and in no time will the loan get approved and you would have all your money in your bank account. So that is the whole vision of what Flexi Loans is. In order to achieve that level of sophistication in terms of validating your credit profile and then giving out the loan in real time, there's good amount of checks that have to be done at the back end. And if imagine if you have to get loans real time, then you have to have very sophisticated machine learning models that judge how well your profile is with respect to loan repayment and the other factors as well. That is your geography from where you're applying for a loan, what is your credit history been so far. So considering all the factors, that is the whole vision that the company has with respect to disbursing loans. So I was very fortunate enough to work with Flexi Loans for a good amount of time. I kind of worked on different, say, use cases ranging from loan defaulter models, creating some good, robust defaulter models, to creating a document classifier. So one piece of a puzzle is to identify the customer. So it is here that we want to validate or we want to check who the person is. So that is where all the KYC details of the person have to be uploaded. So you have to upload the Aadhaar card, PAN card, passport details, driving licenses. So rather than having this checked manually, I created a deep learning model that could classify images that you upload into 10 different categories. And I was able to create a model with, say, good amount of accuracy, close to around 95%. So that is the level of sophistication that I was able to achieve using deep learning. When I joined the company, I had very little idea of deep learning as well. I had different amount of machine learning knowledge, but I kind of kept learning in the process of what the problem statement was. And yeah, that is something that I kind of achieved at FlexiLoans. Post my stint at FlexiLoans, I joined Fractal Analytics. Inside Fractal as well, I am part of a startup called as Cartel.ai. Now, the idea of Cartel.ai is to remove a business analyst completely. So, if you give me some time series data, then ideally I will help you find out say, patterns in your data. So, every data point, say, for example, your sales data, your marketing data, or your, say, any form of data that you can think of, which is time series in nature, then finding anomalies or finding patterns that go wrong in your data is something that is very critical to business. So we wanted to create a product which can identify all these anomalies at scale. So imagine if you are generating data at per millisecond, then ideally you would want something to work at scale. So I've been able to create some, say, real time, say, some amazing time series based outlier algorithms that work at scale. So not the usual paste package kind of a thing, but this is something that we have implemented from scratch. So yeah, that is something that I've been able to achieve in Fractal as well as my previous companies.
Whoa, whoa! I'm pretty sure that was quite enlightening. And those were some key insights there. Thank you. And there's just one issue. Our viewers are telling that there might be an issue with your audio.
Oh, let
Yeah.
me. Is this better?
I don't think so. The volume isn't high enough.
Is this better?
Yeah. Yeah, I think. Yes. Thank you.
Cool.
Yeah. We have a question here. I'll pin it to the screen. Does a data scientist need to be better at statistics than a software engineer, and a better at software engineer than a statistician?
So ideally, yes. I think data science is like a culmination of a lot of fields. You have to be good in understanding business. Your bare minimum fundamentals in terms of mathematics or statistics have to be very clear, and you also should know how to write good optimized code. So I would say yes. You have to be a good a data scientist needs to be good at statistics than a software engineer, but also a better software engineer than a statistician. Yes.
Yeah. Thank you. Let's move on to the next question. The ideal time for a candidate or student to start preparing for an ML job?
So ideally, there's no ideal time as such, but if I have to pick a time, then ideally you should be fascinated by mathematics. That is something that I can vouch for. Till the time you're not very motivated with respect to mathematics, statistics, then ML is not the right direction to pick up, because ideally a lot of fields in ML, be it say deep learning or be it machine learning as well, are heavily driven by statistics. So if your fundamentals are really good with respect to say statistics, with respect to mathematics, then that's essentially the right time for you to start preparing for an ML related role. Once you have that interest readily available in you, then I think what you can do next is you can start going through various online courses, see how you feel after completing the courses. If you still are passionate about what you're doing, so ideally every data scientist has some amount of ROI which he has to prove in the organization. So if you can drive business using mathematics, using statistics, then ideally yes, I think data science and machine learning is the right choice that you can make of in terms of your career choice.
When do you think in your career that point happened when you thought now is the time for him? Yeah.
So I think I was midway in my Cisco tenure, and that is where I kind of discovered machine learning and data science.
Mm.
At my end, I kind of went through some blogs, initial blogs, but
Mm.
I was not very sure. But with time, I thought it's a good field, it's an evolving field. It looked very interesting in terms of generating insights from data. Then you have different fields that are rising right now. You have natural language processing, you have computer vision that is rising. So overall, for me, I was very fascinated by the amount of problems that you can solve using, say, the basic is statistics, right? So that is where I thought of taking that leap of faith and testing out machine learning and data science. So yeah, I mean, midway through my tenure in Cisco is where I realized that I should take this risk and go for data science and machine learning.
Many of our viewers are college-going students. You must come across college-going students asking for advice, like how to pursue ML and where to start and when to start. What is your advice to them?
So ideally, for all the students who are there in college, I think one thing that you should realize is uh, complete the college in terms of what or where you're going right now. Uh, Ideally, start going through blogs, understand what machine learning is, what does a data scientist actually do. So apart from the fancy say demos that are out there on the internet, don't get carried away. There's a lot of dirty work that has to be done by a data scientist. So you have to clean data, which is not the most pleasing process. No one likes it, but everyone has to do it. So don't get fascinated by what is being projected. Understand your say technical expertise, and everyone by the end of second or third year realizes that what their skills or what their strong points are with respect to where they want to take their career from, say the X point that they're standing on. So ideally, if you have to prepare say machine learning in a very sophisticated manner, then you can go through various online courses which are available on Coursera. There are good amount of introductory courses available on Udacity as well. So that is where you can kickstart the idea of knowing or and understanding machine learning. Once you've completed like a couple of courses, then you can kickstart your journey towards say participating in hackathons. So there is this amazing platform called as Kaggle. So you can pick up some data sets there, apply to some competitions that are say currently active, and then see how you're kind of liking the field. So the earlier you develop this interest, the better, because that will give you good amount of clarity. But yeah, I mean, having said that, even if you decide after you work for 2-3 years in software engineering, it's still absolutely fine. So there's no right time, but the idea is you should be fascinated by what you're doing. So that is something that I can share right now.
Yeah, thank you. That was very insightful. Students, I'd like to take this moment to tell you that Geeks for Geeks has also recently launched ML Foundation course, and we have curated it with the help of experts, and it will be mentored by experts. We have put in all the expertise we have gathered over the time with our experience. We know what the interviewers ask, and we know what are the needs of the industry, and we have curated a course which will help you understand and implement ML, not just ratify it. Please go through it. It's really, we have put all our heart and intelligence into it. Thank you. Moving on to the next question. think we have addressed this already. You
Kind of,
yourself
yeah.
have, yeah. Would you like to add anything to this?
Yeah, ideally,
Hmm.
if you are a software engineer, then essentially you like coding. So that is one checkbox that you've already ticked once you want to become a machine learning engineer or a data scientist. The next piece that I want to specify is you should enjoy mathematics. That is like the crux of uh, enjoying machine learning as a job as well. If you really are fascinated by mathematics, then ideally you can kickstart by starting off with, say, simple courses on Udacity. One course that I did initially was Introduction to Machine Learning, which is like a free course on Udacity. Uh, I remember, I don't remember the exact, say, name of the instructors for the course, but ideally it's a very well thought out course in terms of giving you the basics, not a lot and not too less as well. So it's like the right amount that everyone can chew at their pace as well. So kickstart some courses online, and then if you're really fascinated by what is happening, then go into the entire process of learning different algorithms, going through different data sets, coming up with different models. So yeah, I mean, the whole journey will follow, but the start is something that you'll have to decide, that is data science and machine learning exactly for me. So once that initial hurdle is crossed, then I think you can obviously make that right transition from software engineering to machine learning as well.
Uh, you keep mentioning a love for mathematics is a very big prerequisite. Have this has this love for mathematics been there from your school years, and like,
Yes, I think there's one thing that I've really liked about all the subjects so far. That one subject is mathematics. So, coming from an electronics background as well, knowingly, unknowingly, you have good amount of mathematics. So, we had subjects on signal processing. The whole fuss about convolutional neural networks right now is essentially nothing else but a 2D version of your normal convolutions that happen in signal processing. So I have had good fascination for mathematics, right from my engineering or right from the college days itself, from 11th, 12th. So yeah, that is how I was able to, say, pursue what I liked, and yeah, that is something that I do on a day-to-day basis right now.
wonderful. It's more or less the same
Yeah.
question, but we'd
Yeah.
love for you to hear more about it. How much maths and stats are involved in ML? Do candidates need special preparation for this?
So ideally, data science itself is like a very big field. You have data analytics, you have data science, you have machine learning, you have deep learning. Data analytics and data science, all of them in fact have good amount of mathematics. So ideally what happens is, say if you create a machine learning model, then even if it's very accurate, you will be entitled to, say, share your results with the business. So if I preach that, or if I've created a model that tells me who has a tendency of defaulting going forward, then ideally I should be able to explain to business what are the features that contribute to that decision. So there are different hypothesis tests that go around in finding out the significant features and the other pieces of information that are there. So ideally, yes, mathematics is a very integral part of machine learning, data science, and you have to be comfortable in speaking the language of mathematics if you want to proceed forward in data science and machine learning. How much maths or statistics is involved, uh, there is no like clear cut answer to this, but as you proceed along, you will kind of encounter different things on the way. So if you create like a linear regression model, which is predicting your continuous variable basis your features, set of features, then you will also see some kind of a regression report that is generated by various packages. How do you infer a lot of things from those reports, be it the p value, be it different factors that come in, is something that decides how good or bad your model is. So understanding the basics of mathematics with respect to your probabilities, your p values, hypothesis testing, z score, and the different tests like chi-square test, ANOVA test, if your fundamentals are strong, then ideally you are in a state of, say, scaling up once, say, there's like a complex topic thrown at you. So I would suggest all of you who are preparing for data science and machine learning, start with the basics. Don't jump into the fancy deep learning algorithms that are floating right now. Start with basics, understand basics really well. Try to, so if you've kind of passed the initial stage of machine learning and if you're planning to enter deep learning as well, then think of entering or think of doing or implementing neural networks from scratch. Take one baby step at a time and learn mathematics as much as you can. So it's a never ending process. No one can say that I know every piece of mathematics in data science and machine learning. Everyone's learning, but yeah, I mean, you should have that interest of grasping topics quickly. So yeah, that is something that I can recommend.
Okay. This user asked this question. Let me share it.
Okay. How important? So the way I infer this is how important is data structures and algorithms in Python to kickstart ML. Uh, Ideally, whatever models you create. So today, a data scientist is not just about creating models. There are companies that expect a data scientist to deploy machine learning models end to end. You are expected to create a web application as well. So there are different factors that come into play for a data scientist role as well. So ideally, if you want to be like the best that there are in the country, then you will have to take charge of every process in the whole machine learning workflow. So right from data collection, data cleaning, model building to model deployment. Now, a lot of places, what happens is you're not dealing with a very small chunk of data. You have good amount of data with you. So you have GBs or TBs of data. Yes, you will have frameworks to process them, but how do you write the most optimized code? What are the different data structures that you utilize in order to get a particular task? So if by using one data structure you are kind of spending, say, around 30 minutes, and if you change a data structure, you may be reducing the time complexity to something else. And if you can run the entire piece for that set of data in around 15 minutes, then you're kind of saving 15 minutes in total. So optimization is the key even in data science. So essentially you're writing code, but here the task is kind of a bit different in terms of what you would say normally do for your normal software engineering practice as well. So all your fundamentals of software engineering are taken forward in data science and machine learning as well. I hope
Right.
that answers the question.
Yeah, that was quite insightful. Moving on to the next question. Yeah, basic skill one needs to know before getting into this field. Like
Okay.
a beginner from a basic beginner.
A basic beginner, one thing that is very important is curiosity. I think that's the most important skill that I can think of. You should be curious to keep learning things, because seriously, the pace at which machine learning is evolving, the pace at which data science is evolving is incredible. I think just to keep track of what is happening, one fine day you're using one model that is open sourced by Google, and the other, say, 3 or 4 months down the line, there's a new model that comes up which is even more optimized and it uses less amount of parameters as well. So you have to keep track of what is happening, otherwise you would be lost in the entire race. So the only way you can do that is you should have that sense of curiosity. You should have that thing that you should keep learning in this field. So that is one basic skill that I can think of. The second skill is reasoning and being happy playing with data. So a lot of data that you get is in a very cluttered format. How do you play around with data? How do you generate insights? Sometimes what happens is you don't need fancy machine learning models to drive business. Sometimes some small insights can go a long way in terms of providing a lot of business to the organization. So it is here that you'll have to come up with that sense of comfort that you should have when you kind of creating solutions for the organization. It may not be the most fancy machine learning model, but ideally whatever you create would be something that would add value to business. So you should be comfortable playing with data. You should be patient. So this is something that I've learned with time as well. You don't get one shot solutions in data science. It's a very gradual process. You will have a lot of models that would never go to production as well. So
Right.
ideally, it's a gradual process. You have to be patient. You will have multiple iterations in creating models as well. So the more comfortable you get with data, the more patient you become with data, solutions will keep flowing in for you. So these are some basic skills that I can think of, not say technology specific, but more to
Hmm.
do with how you should approach data science as a career option.
Uh, you mentioned that one needs to be curious about what's happening in the field of ML and what are the changes happening around you. What would you recommend our viewers? What resources can they use to be updated to know what's happening in the field? Are there some resources that you particularly follow?
So I kind of follow a good
Hmm.
amount of influencers on Twitter. So Twitter is where I follow the greats of machine learning and deep learning. So that is one platform that I use very actively. Second is LinkedIn as well. There are good amount of influencers who kind of keep sharing the latest research that happens with respect to data science and machine learning. So follow the influencers in data science as well. There are good amount of blogs that are being published. So Medium again is more of an ML driven platform. So once you start reading 3-4 blogs on machine learning, then automatically your recommendation feed would show you good amount of machine learning feed. So ideally, you just a couple of reads away to get a feed very curated for machine learning. So what happens? One good thing about Medium is it will kind of start populating the latest blogs that are published for a particular topic that you are kind of keen on. So even in machine learning, if you are like very involved in natural language processing, and if you've read like 5-6 blogs on natural language processing, then Medium will start showing you NLP based blogs on your feed itself. So these are some things that I kind of use to keep track of what is happening. So yeah, I mean that is something that I can recommend as well.
Wait, very insightful. The viewers should take note of this. Moving on to the next question. Um, yeah, future and scope of ML in India.
Yeah. So ideally, uh, the way I would answer this is there's good amount of scope of machine learning in India. I think the amount of data that we are producing every day, not just in India but across the globe, so just imagine if you're watching this video today from your cell phone, then ideally you're kind of increasing the watch time. So YouTube kind of understands that you like watching videos which are related to programming or which are related to data science. So every action that you're performing is invariably accounting for some data that is captured somewhere. So one more example, if you go out and if you buy a small thing from a kirana store as well, you're still contributing to a data point that will be used by FMCG companies later on. So everything that you do right now is essentially being tracked. Knowingly, unknowingly, you're generating good amount of data every day. And companies, from being legacy driven in their decision making, are moving towards a data driven decision making. So if an X company or if a legacy company knew how to sell an X product, which was say very legacy driven, now they are kind of using data to better target their audience, reach out to them with very curated offers as well. So every action that is being performed right now by a lot of companies are data driven. Having said that, what I see in terms of this future scope is a lot of companies would move essentially from that legacy that they had to a data driven decision making. It is here that different people with different skill sets would be required to make those decisions. So you will have a data analyst who would be very good with number crunching, who would come up with better insights. You would have a data scientist who would come up with really sophisticated models. You will have a deep learning guy who would create, say, amazing deep learning models for different use cases that are there in the organization. You will have a data engineer who kind of takes care of the data ingestion pipeline. So overall, the field is very promising. Overall, it is really great, and it's still evolving. It's not reached a very saturated state so far. Companies are in that path of discovery in terms of what all they can achieve using data science and machine learning. So ideally, in terms of the scope, I think there's good amount of scope for machine learning in India, and I think there's like a bright future ahead for data science and machine learning in India going forward.
That should encourage you all, I think, right? Our next question to you would be common myths associated with ML job, which are false.
Okay. So a lot of people that I've seen who enter the field of machine learning have this notion that data scientists and machine learning engineers don't code. That is like a big myth, which people watching this, say during the live stream of or after this is recorded, shouldn't fall for. Ideally, your data scientist or a machine learning engineer should write code, should write very optimized, readable code. That is one myth that is kind of floating around, that I'm a data scientist, I don't have to code. That's not the case. So that is one myth that I would want to break at this stage. Second myth is, not every day you would be creating machine learning models. So all the amazing random forest, decision trees, and the other algorithms that you can think of, uh, you would invest close to 5 or 10% of the effort in creating a model. But to come to a stage where you have to utilize the model, you'll have to say work with raw data, which is not very pleasing in terms of the overall experience. You will have data sources at different places. You will have missing values. You will have very different use cases as well. You'll have to join tables here and there to come up with like a proper sophisticated structure that you can feed into your model building stage. So almost 80 to 90% of the job does go into data cleaning and data pre-processing, until unless you have like a very sophisticated data ingestion pipeline set up in the organization. But if that is not the case, then you'll have to harmonize data. You'll have to talk to business in terms of how this model that you intend to create would solve a business problem. So every model that is created in the industry, in big companies as well, is revenue driven as well. Some places it is more research driven, but a lot of places it is more revenue driven as well. So what is the overall ROI that I expect after I create a model? How much time do I save, or how much man hours am I saving after this model comes into action? So these are a couple of questions that are answered. But model building, the whole fancy stuff in terms of machine learning, is something that you spend only 90% of the time. So for being a successful machine learning engineer or a data scientist, you have to be comfortable with the entire 100% of the flow, and not just the fancy part, which is the 90%, the 10% of the flow. So that
You need
is
to
the
be
other
ready to
myth
get your
that
hands
is there.
dirty.
Sorry.
You need to be ready to get your hands dirty.
Yes, exactly.
Magic is that there's the 10% of it. The hard work
Yeah.
and the number crunching and everything that comes to the 90% part of it.
Yes.
So you should all be prepared for some hard work here, not just the preparation one, the job itself. Any other myths, any other things that the user should
I
know
think,
of?
yeah. I think these are the two major myths that I can think of at this point of time. But yeah, I mean, if you're okay with the whole struggle that you have with respect to data cleaning, you should be in a position to handle data well. That is one thing, and you should be able to write good optimized code. So yeah, if that is out of the way, then I think you should kind of approach machine learning as you would approach other fields as well.
Thank you. Uh, our viewers really love you for holding your earphone up, and they are, yeah, they're showing
Thank you.
some respect to you. Yeah, like they appreciate the effort you are putting in. Thank you so much. Our next question: what does a machine learning engineer actually do?
Okay. So the whole title of a machine learning engineer varies across companies. So let me give you some examples. So if you are working for a company, say a company that is into computer vision, one example would be, if so I don't want to quote any company, but say for example, if I'm working in a company which is more computer vision driven, then I would create solutions around say uh, computer vision using the data that I've already collected. So One example that I gave you initially was the whole PAN card, Aadhaar card classification piece. That saved truckload of time for us, and we were able to. So we had hired around a team of 10 people who would classify documents and then let the form proceed forward. Once the model that I created was, say, in action, that is where we were able to save good amount of time. We were able to save good amount of, say, time in terms of processing the loan applications as well. So that is one piece that you essentially do as a machine learning engineer if you are into computer vision. If you are into natural language processing, then ideally you would be playing around with a lot of text data. So there's good amount of, so imagine one simple example that I could give you is your Google Assistant. So you trouble Google Assistant a lot that tell me this, tell me that, what is the score, what is the IPL score currently, is
Right.
one question that you would ask. So
Yeah.
all the context related questions in terms of natural language processing, if you have like a specific use case. So for example, if I'm creating a chatbot for Indian customers, then I would require a data set which is a combination of both English as well as Hindi. If I'm creating it for the entire country, if it's specific to a region, then I would require a data set for that region. I would create models around it. So the whole machine learning engineer role as such is not very clearly defined that this is something that you do. It depends with respect to the organizations that you work for, but the end goal of everything that you do is mostly driving value to your organization. That is how simply I would put it across. In form of what exactly goes behind the scene is, you would be iterating through multiple models. You would create models, you would test it out how well they're performing on unseen data set. Say if you go on to deploy that model as well, then you would also monitor the overall model performance as well. How good is it performing with time? So imagine if I create a defaulter model in 2016 and a lot of factors have changed in 2020, so my model would be completely obsolete at this point of time. So
Right.
there should be a tracking mechanism in terms of monitoring the predictions. How well are we predicting using models as well? So it's a complete life cycle in terms of creating models for business, making an impact using machine learning to business, and if there is a requirement in terms of you having to deploy models as well, then ideally you'll have to go forward and do that as well. So it's a mixed role. It's not a X to Y role. Every company
Yeah.
has their own set of definitions for data scientist and machine learning. But yeah, I mean, as long as you're comfortable solving problems, as long as you're passionate about what you're doing, I think, yeah, I mean, that is essentially what the whole role encapsulates.
Which is the part that you love the most about your job? Like it inspires you, and it would inspire our viewers too. Like the part of it
Yeah,
that totally brings, yeah.
I like data cleaning a lot. I think that is something that I really enjoy. I think uh, uh, so. The whole popular belief is you really enjoy model building, but that kind of gets over very quickly. So uh, cleaning data itself is an art. I think manipulating. So I'm a big fan of this amazing Python library called as Pandas. I kind of utilize it to the best possible way that it can be utilized. I kind of use it to the best possible way. One should use it to create the final data structure so that it can be fed really well into the machine learning model that you want to create. So I really enjoy the whole data cleaning phase. I think looking where your missing values are, looking at different cases where your data can actually go wrong in terms of your wrong data being recorded as well. So all things considered, I think your entire data cleaning process is something that fascinates me a lot. I think model building is something that happens, say, after you've done the initial part really well. So for me, my main focus every day is to come up with better data structure using the whole data cleaning processes that are involved.
Right. Uh, there was some query. Yeah. Uh, is it normal to face problems understanding maths behind ML? This seems to
Yeah,
be a
yeah,
very
absolutely. Yeah,
query.
absolutely. I think it's not a very easy journey. Let me be very honest. No one
Yeah.
gets it in one go. I didn't. I go through one. So one thing that I really follow is so the reason why I create videos on YouTube is I want to use it, say, 5-6 months down the line, I want to use my own videos to explain a concept, and I want like a placeholder where I can refer to a video as well. So it is not easy. Uh, you have so many concepts coming in from different places, so it becomes really difficult to digest them in one go. But again, if you give it some time, if you go over that concept, say 2 times, 3 times in the initial phase, and if you keep revising it, say after 2 months, 3 months, that is where you will kind of get a sense of what that algorithm was about, and what are the small little topics that are there. So yes, I absolutely agree. It's not a very simple, easy process, but if you give it that time, if you give it that amount of effort as well, then I'm pretty sure you should be able to enjoy the entire process. So initially, yes, no one has it simple. Everyone goes through their set of struggles as well.
Right, right. How can the viewers who are facing difficulty in maths, how can they better themselves at it? Is there some way? Is there some particular way you follow? Is there something that they should know? Yeah.
So ideally, start off with the basic mathematics that is there. So start off with probabilities. So there is one book. It's called Business Statistics by Ken Black. It's a very well curated book. Uh, it's very well
Right.
defined for getting your basic mathematics in track. So if you are in college, or if you are a software engineer with say 5-7 years of experience as well, people from different walks of life can utilize that book. It's a PDF. If you do a Google search, you should get the free copy as well. That shouldn't be that difficult. So I utilized that book when I was making a transition to data science and machine learning.
Right.
Go through that book with a lot of patience, and the language is very easy to understand. It's not very complex as well. So that is one book that I can recommend to all the viewers out there. Second piece is, for every algorithm, try to understand the mathematics behind it. Even though at the end stage, when you're creating a model, you just have to write 3-4 lines of code. But a situation might arise that you might have to implement algorithms from scratch. So I have kind of faced it at Fractal when I had to implement a time series outlier algorithm that works on TDs of data. It is here that scikit-learn or the other modules don't come in handy. You have to understand the algorithms and come up with different techniques in order to solve a problem. So stick with the problem. The struggle is real. There is no escaping that. If you are not getting an algorithm from one source, go to a different source. Hear that person out. If you're more into videos, go through YouTube videos. There are plenty of good YouTubers out there who create really amazing content. Go through those videos. If you like reading, then there are good amount of blogs that you can find on topics. So don't stick to one source. Get a sense of all the sources that are there across different platforms, and then utilize that time to understand a concept. So for me, what I do personally is, if I don't get a concept, then I kind of go through 10-15 different resources. I
Right.
still use a pen and paper approach. I write down the equations. I try to understand the equation in and out. And yeah, that's how I've been kind of able to learn some amount of algorithms, if not all. Yeah, that's how things are.
Um, Very insightful, and he's also being humble. Thank you.
Yeah.
Uh, our next question uh, is it advised to start looking for a job in this field as soon as candidate graduates from the college, or he or she needs to get some experience on projects first?
Okay. So the way I would put this across is, say 5 years down the line, getting the initial kick was a bit easy as compared to what it is today. So initially, the demand was very high, and there wasn't, say, that amount of supply that there is today. So a lot of people have started looking into data science as a career option. So
Hmm.
uh, 5 years or 6 years back, if you just graduated and if you were looking out for a job, then
Hmm.
things were a bit simpler as compared to what they are today.
Hmm.
Today, if companies have to hire a fresher as well, then they would want some amount of expertise that he would have already developed. Be it in data engineering, he should be comfortable with Spark, which is like a big data platform. He should have, say, some experience with some online courses as well on Coursera or Udacity. So you can pick any of the platforms and complete some courses. But what sets one resume apart from the other is the projects that you do. So once you get a sense of what data science and what machine learning is, then ideally what you can start doing is you can start exploring different ways that you can use machine learning in. So think of creating. So I remember one guy who had just graduated. I don't remember his name. I think his name was Rohit, if I'm not wrong. He had
Right.
just graduated and he had posted a video on LinkedIn wherein he had created like a end-to-end web application which could classify Indian currency notes. So 500 rupee note, a 2000 rupee note, a 100 rupee note, all the different colors that were there. He kind of used different data sets that were available on Google search itself. So he created his own data set. He created his own machine learning model. He created a web application that was easy to use as well. So companies who have to hire would essentially want someone who has that passion of doing things differently. So there are different, say, famous data sets that are already existing. You have your Iris data set, you have your Titanic data set. So if a recruiter kind of goes through that resume, then he wouldn't be very interested in knowing what that project is, because that is already a solved problem. But if there is something, if there is some spark that he sees in the resume with respect to a different unique project altogether, it may not be like the final finished product, but if there is a unique idea to what you've tried to solve, then essentially that conversation can start. So I remember looking at a video. So there was this live stream by the TensorFlow team. TensorFlow is like a very famous package or a library by Google, which is used widely in creating deep learning models. So
Okay.
one live stream that was aired recently was TensorFlow JS project showcase a demo. So it is here that someone had created like a very simple application. So using TensorFlow JS, that is TensorFlow JavaScript, that person had created an application that could detect when your water is on and when your water is off. So essentially, when you turn on the tap, given the COVID situation that we have and given the guidelines by WHO, you should wash your hands for 20 seconds. So the person had implemented an audio detector that could identify how many seconds was your tap on. So a very unique project. So if someone kind of implements that, then it becomes like a talking point in the resume as well. So that is something that you've already done to differentiate your resume from the others that have applied for the same role. So think of various different projects that you can incorporate from what you see today, and come up with various unique projects, and that can be your talking point in the entire interview process as well. So that is something that I can recommend.
Right. Thank you. Uh, I think that's it from the question from us. Let's begin with the user queries.
Sure.
Yeah. Yes. Right. Um a student has asked, I am in the third year studying data science. How can I manage my placements and data science at the same time? Do you have some insight on this?
So ideally, if you're kind of going through data science, so he would be kind of going through various courses, if I'm not wrong. So ideally, what he can do is uh, he can choose at this stage what he wants to go for after graduation. So if he's very keen on, say, looking for a job in data science and machine learning, then either he can go all out and search for jobs in data science. If he's currently looking for more of a software engineering role, just to get a sense of how the industry functions and just to discover if software engineering is right for him, then ideally he can start preparing for placements. Keep going through the data science piece that he's going through. Maybe cut down the time that he's devoting a bit and focus more on the placements piece, because it all depends in terms of what he wants to do just after graduating. So if the main target initially is to get a job, then ideally I would want him to focus more on the placements initially, and then jump into data science. So one thing that a lot of people are able to do very successfully is they're able to transition within the company. So if
Right.
you join a company as a software engineer, then
Right.
one good path that you can also take is you can do a lot of online courses and you can wait for a good data science project to come along. Once that is there in the company, then you can always pitch in for a vertical transfer from software engineering to data science as well. So that is also one path that can be explored once you're comfortable in the organization that you work in. So yeah, that is one thing that I can recommend.
Okay. A user has asked has a query regarding maths again. He has been studying linear algebra and probability, but he needs a suggestion for a book where he can find an in-depth understanding of maths for machine learning. Will it be the same book that he suggested?
So that is more of a book in terms of your business statistics. So your statistical concepts like z-score, t-test, and all of that is
Right.
something that I would highly recommend that book for. For linear algebra, I believe there is a book on deep learning that kind of covers the entire process of covering how much of linear algebra is actually required.
Right.
One thing that I can also recommend is there is this amazing YouTube channel called as 3 Brown 1 Blue or 3 Blue 1 Brown. I keep interchanging the order of brown and blue. But ideally, if you want to understand, say, linear algebra concepts visually, then there is no better channel that can explain that those concepts. So keep an open mind in terms of where you want to study from. Don't stick to one particular, say, resource. Go through multiple resources that are available free of cost. So that is something that I would recommend.
There's this recurring question: skills a final year student should have to get a job as a data scientist.
Again, mathematics,
Right.
good amount of, say, even if there are not, say, 3, 4, 5 projects, but
Right.
maybe the initial Hello World projects of data science, your Titanic and Iris is okay. But if there's a unique project that you can come up with using computer vision or natural language processing, nothing like it, having that fondness towards machine learning, that is one thing that you should have. In general, liking mathematics, and yeah, I mean, that is something that I can recommend.
Okay. And would you have any suggestions for the viewers looking for internships in data science?
So ideally, internships again, if you are say looking out for internships as well, one good platform that you can utilize is LinkedIn. Reach out to people, but don't reach out to people without studying about what the company is doing and what the
Right.
job role is about. Be active on LinkedIn, Twitter, and the other social media platforms that are there. Uh, Both in internships as well, try to figure out which is your area of interest as well. So some companies would maybe say not make the most out of you as well. So ideally, if you're looking out for good internships, you should have good amount of projects behind your back. So if you have like really amazing NLP related projects or computer vision projects, and if you target those companies as well, I'm pretty sure they would be keen on, say, giving you the initial internship, and there are good chances of converting that into a pre-placement offer as well. So yeah, I mean, focus on where you want to head after data science in terms of narrowing down the fields as well, and look out for jobs on LinkedIn. I think that is a very good place where you can connect to different, say, people in different organizations. Understand what the company is doing before even you approach them, and then take a conversation forward.
Right. Um, Thank you for that answer. I think we are done with the questions. These are all the same questions. I think we have addressed them all. Um it was really fun, and it was, I'm sure, very enlightening for all our viewers. We had a total blast having you here. It was
Thank you so
super
much.
fun for us. Yeah.
Thank you so much, Prakash.
And once again, I'd like to tell our viewers about our ML course. It's a foundation course and it's a project based course. We'll help you implement these projects, one major project, two minor projects. Please take a look. I'm sure it will be very helpful to you too. And with that, we'd like to bid adieu to Mr. Bhavesh. It was so fun. It was really enlightening, and we hope you take care. As it's COVID times, and we hope you stay safe and keep going in the field you already are.
Thank you so much for having me. Thanks again.
Okay.
Bye.
All for today. Bye all. Thank you.